Week 12 has a bunch of great matchups and a lot of matchups that I honestly never would have expected to have playoff implications at this point of the season. But that's what we have here as the Cleveland Browns travel to the Denver Broncos to take on Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. And I can't believe it, but the Broncos are actually at 500, and it's not the first game of the season. So I'm shocked that this is actually a crucial game for them. I think actually they are on a 4-game winning streak. They
are.
Yeah. So.
And the Browns have won 4 out of their last 5.
Yeah. So with, 3 different quarterbacks, I think now with P.J. Walker, Deshaun Watson, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson as well. So the Browns are sitting at 7-3. Broncos are 5-5, 1 game back from being in the wild card spot. And honestly, then too, as I mentioned here, both these teams are like saying this. Pittsburgh Steelers are currently in the 7th spot at 6-4. They might be the worst 6-4 team I think I've ever seen. I don't think that they will be staying in that spot for that long, even though their defense is really good as well. But going into this game, though, major playoff implications here, especially the Browns. They can win this one, go to 8-3. Just give that buffer, just as much buffer as they possibly can, just trying to get to January, trying to get to the postseason. Get as much buffer as possible here, especially then with their schedule that they have coming up here. So they have the Broncos in this game, obviously. Then they have the Rams next week, which is a very doable game for them. Yeah, winnable, sorry. Then they host the Jags, which that's going to be a tough one. Then they host the Bears. Then they go to the Texans, the Jets, and then the Bengals. So honestly, a very favorable end to the season to the schedule. All these considered, especially with Joe Burrow going out now. And so the Jags and the Texans are their 2 toughest games for sure. I would say here. Jets, I think it's going to be an interesting one just because of the Dorian Thompson-Robinson as a rookie going up against that defense. That'll be interesting. Broncos, on the other hand, 5-5 and very doable game, I would say, against the Browns here as well. But then they do play the Texas Chargers, Lions, and the toughest game most of all against the Patriots in Week 16. And they do the Chargers and then Raiders. Some very tough games, honestly, for them. So they're just going to need to keep finding ways to keep winning as they did against Minnesota and Buffalo these past couple of weeks. So let's talk about this game here real quick. What just kind of are your overall objectives for both of these teams coming out victorious?
So for me, the Browns, they need to keep this game low scoring. That's not something that they've done super well in their last few matchups, giving up 38 to the Colts, 24 to the Seahawks. Then they shut out the Cardinals. And then that was against Clayton Tune, though, in his first start ever in the NFL. And then they gave up 31 to the Ravens. And then they only gave up 10 last week, but that's to that abysmal Steelers offense. So when they've played offenses as of late with any sort of competency, it's all gone above 24 points, I believe. So that for me is they're going to have to keep it low scoring. And then Denver is just pulling close games out there, behinds here. So they beat the Packers 19-17. Then they beat the Chiefs 24-9 in a pretty convincing fashion. Then they beat the Bills 24-22, and then they just beat the Vikings 21-20 last week after some Cortland Sutton miracle catches there. So, they're winning these close games, but they're doing it consistently, which is last year I think they were in a lot of close games, but they were just losing all of them consistently. So they have flipped the script a little bit. Russell Wilson looks better. Cortland Sutton and him look to have formed a bit of a connection. Jerry Jeudy is slowly catching on, but this defense to me very opportunistic for the Broncos. I think they've generated at least 1 turnover in all of their last 5 games.
Yeah. I'll say this now. It is. And they do have 19 passing touchdowns on the season so far to only 4 interceptions. I'm curious to see. Let me double check to make sure that all those are Russell Wilson's. So,
19-4, but only 2,000 yards.
Well, not even. If Pro Football Reference is correct, 1,910 yards through 10 games. So I
have 2,065.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I guess it depends on if they're counting sacks or not. So I don't know how that math works overall. I guess I'm looking at passing offense, the team offense. So sacks, I could see sacks being played into that.
Okay.
So either way, there's still just not an overall effective passing offense overall. And they're going to be going up against the team with the number one passing defense in the Cleveland Browns, who they've given up only 1,437 total yards of team defense. So I think it's going to be very tough for them to move the ball in general. Also, too, Broncos are one of the most sacked teams at 32 sacks. Let me double check this here. Yeah, 32 sacks, tied for 6 overall with the Bears, while the Browns are number 6 overall with 33 sacks that they've had that they've gotten. So I think Russell Wilson's going to be running around a lot. I think they're going to have to find ways to protect him and move the ball. Just move the ball, whether it's trying to run against this good defense, trying to throw against this even better passing defense. That's just where I think the Broncos, and I think this fits perfectly into your first point that you said on how the Browns need to win this game is keep it low scoring. I think the Browns defense should be able to keep it low scoring against this Denver Broncos offense, which is not explosive really at all. They've had a couple of explosive plays throughout the entire season with Marvin Mims that are immediately coming to my mind. I'm sure I'm missing some. But in general, though, this is not a very explosive team. A lot of check downs, a lot of throws that are just little slant routes or just short crossing routes are out in the flat. I think they're going to be playing up a lot, this Browns defense. Now, on the flip side, it's weird to kind of look at the Browns offensive statistics and get a good reading on it. The only one I think I feel confident in saying that in comparison to the Broncos is the Browns are still, with losing Nick Chubb, still the 4th most rushing yards for the team offense at 1,427, while the Broncos are giving up the most rushing yards allowed. Caveat, I will say in that about a fifth of that is still from that Miami Dolphins game where they ran for 350 yards against them. Yeah. But still, let's take that game away at 1,350. They're still top 5 in rushing yards allowed overall throughout the season. So still not a good running defense at all. I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a lot of Jerome Ford, a lot of just running over the defensive line of Denver and taking some opportunities, throwing the ball when they can.
Yeah. So I think this is a really good matchup. The fact that this matchup has playoff implications attached to it is kind of crazy to think about.
I will say I expected the Browns. I would have been disappointed if the Browns didn't have this, and if Watson was healthy the entire year. Just get a full sense. And now he's not healthy, but he is. But they're still 7-3. Myles Garrett, I think, you can make an argument. I think he could make an argument for him being MVP just with how dominant I feel like he's been. The clear leader of this entire team. Yeah, he's had an amazing year, but this defense is one of the best. So it's. I think that's what's going to keep taking to the promised land. And we mentioned those games too. They play some teams that the rest of the season with not so good offenses. So I think this defense can take them to the playoffs. I think they can come out with a victory this Sunday. So.
Yeah, but let's get into our predictions here really quick. But before we do that, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. Tyler and I are trying to get to 2,100 subscribers by Thanksgiving. So if you can help us reach that goal, that would be very much appreciated. Tyler, I'm going to throw this over to you. Who do you have coming out ahead in this matchup?
So I think I kind of gave it away a little bit there. Also then too, and how much I just talked about the Browns and how great they are. Not really, but going to go with the Browns here. It's interesting to pick the rookie quarterback on his first road start. But I think this defense reminds me of those like mid 2000s like top teams where very little offense, but you just could not score on them at all. Now you mentioned some like the past couple of games where teams have been able to put up 30+ points on them. Those were against, I feel, a little bit more dynamic offenses. And going up against this Broncos team, I just don't see how they're going to be able to. I mean, maybe they can put up 21 points, but that's about where the Broncos are normally falling here. If you go look at the past couple of games, 21, 24, 24, 19, 8, 21, 31. So that's going all the way back to week 4 with their win against Chicago. Yeah. So I think it is doable for the Broncos. It's definitely not out of the question, but I'm just going to lean towards the Browns.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Browns as well. I want to pick the Broncos because I actually do kind of want to see them succeed. But I just think the Browns are the better team on paper, even with a rookie quarterback. I think they have the better weapons. They have the much better defense. And then I think you throw in Kareem Jackson being suspended for 4 games today is going to be a little bit of a blow as well to this.
Only 4 games?
Yeah, I think he
Wasn't
got
his
4
last
games.
one? Wasn't his last
Yeah,
4 games too?
But he got removed down to 2 games.
Okay.
But so I think that's going to be a moral blow kind of to this Denver team. I think it's going to be close. It'll be like a 21-17, 21-20 type of game.
I don't even think it'll be that much. I think it'll be 13-10 again, like how the Browns won last week.
I can see that too. So, but we're both taking the Browns. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this AFC matchup. Is it going to be the Cleveland Browns? Is it going to be the Denver Broncos? Other than that, we will see you guys next time.